Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Mic Discussions. Tonight, I have a special guest from New York to tell us what is going on in New York. Hello, Dabby. How are you doing?
How are you? I feel
I'm
like a
doing
million bucks, my
fantastic.
man.
Excellent, brother. Thank
I
you
just
so
gotta say
much.
thank you for giving me some opportunity to speak, and I really appreciate everything you do. I mean, I see you on like Clubhouse, I see you on Instagram. I'm really happy that you give me this opportunity to share a little bit of knowledge and just a quick chat.
Yes, brother. Thank you too. I appreciate it. Okay, so can you tell everyone a bit about yourself for those that might not know you?
Absolutely. So my name is Davi Bahamin Carreras, and I'm an investment banker. So I guess the best way to really explain myself. Um, I've been with a firm by the name of Spartan Capital. Actually, even before Spartan Capital, I was a VC and a hedge fund manager, doing $100 million transactions. And then all of a sudden, the world came to a screeching halt in 2007. And I realized I had to become a retail broker. And I met with one of my good friends, John Lowry, and we opened up Spartan Capital. And I decided to become a retail broker and get licensed as a Series 7 broker. And in that time period, because we're going through a world where the Chinese were no longer supporting the supply chains, and everyone needs better tax jurisdictions and better locations for their assets.
Hmm.
Um, I effectively went back to my clients who are millionaires and billionaires. I mean, I have clients who are royalty actors, professional sports athletes, everywhere. And they said that you need to do two things. I need to get a seat on the New York Stock Exchange, and I need to run for elected office. So I got our firm to be ready for this year to have a seat on the New York Stock Exchange. In fact, I'm going to be there on Thursday. And I ran for a couple of different elections in 2016. So I ran for a lot of small elections like assembly and city council. But in 2021,
Mm.
I ran for New York City Comptroller, which is the seat directly under the mayor. So it's the second most powerful position in the city of New York, the largest city in our country. And I won the election. I got the most votes in New York City's history, which is over 1 million votes. But yet, because of my political affiliation, they refused to honor the vote count and they gave it to the person who lost. And he usurped our seat. And as you can see, our city is dying ever so exponentially. It's just unreal how much homelessness and poverty and crime that is going through our city because there's no more money. So my job as an investment banker, as a broker, is to bring business back into New York City. Otherwise, New York City will effectively be a flyover country. And if New York City falls and fails, then our country will effectively fall and fail. So I filed a lawsuit. And the way it works is you have to file a lawsuit in all five boroughs because it has to be unanimous.
Hmm.
And I won in three of the boroughs, but I still have two more boroughs that refuse to give me a court date until just recently. And now I have a court date for December 4th, which is such a crazy time. I mean, like it's after an election and it's after the end of the year, so it's no timely time. But
Hmm.
in my court case, I filed, which I won the first three. I filed 346,000 affidavits of people who voted for me, but yet the vote count went the opposite direction. So I actually went to these people's homes over this past year. I had a group of 20 volunteers knock on doors. I went to all the Hispanic homes. I went to all the people who I knew would be voting for me already. And I said,
Hmm.
hey, it says he voted for, this guy, Brad Lander. But I'm Dabby Carreras. And like, yeah, I didn't vote for Brad Lander. I voted for you. And
Hmm.
346,000 times, people said they voted for me. On top of the 346,000 times, I also found, I don't know, maybe like 200 people, 200,000 people who are dead, who lived in that exact same home,
Hmm.
who were still active voters. And I said, hey, I have Grandma Rose over here and it says that she voted for Brad Lander. No, Grandma Rose, their grandma, quote unquote, just an example. Yeah, she's been dead for 7 years. Well, I was like, well, that's interesting. She's been voting since every single year since she's been dead. She's a pretty active voter. They gave me the not only the death certificate, but and pictures, but I actually went to the cemetery and took a picture of the cemetery, their active voter registration, their death certificate, all this information, and I submitted to the court alongside of it, all my contemporaneous notes. And that's what did it over for Staten Island. That's what did it for Queens. That's what did it for the Bronx. But I'm still waiting for Manhattan and Brooklyn. But I am the New York City comptroller, and I'm just waiting for the city to realize it. And very soon they're going to realize it, and it's going to be a bonanza. It really is going to be a bonanza. So it's kind of wild because in New York City we have a black mayor. You know, there's some time of these people who are speaking about Black Lives Matter every single day and all these different things. We voted for the black mayor. We voted for the black public advocate. We didn't vote for the white Jewish racist communist bisexual man. The New York City didn't vote the Oreo cookie, so to speak. You know, I'm really using harsh terms here, but I just wanted to make it abundantly clear. I got the endorsement of the largest newspapers in the planet for Jewish people. The largest ones. The Jewish population did not vote for the Jewish people. Blacks and Hispanics didn't vote for the Jewish guy. They voted for the black and Hispanic, the Afro-Latino, as they call me. Banker. That's what they voted for. But yet the city is sitting here with a comptroller who is consistently looking to destroy business and 421A and bring migrants and other people here and destroy our city and make it crime full instead of crime ridden.
And you're referring to Eric Adams, right? Just for those that don't know.
Yep. Eric Adams, Brad Lander, and Jumaane Williams. I mean, you know, it's really wild. So Eric Adams, the mayor, you know, he's bringing all these migrants, and he's bringing migrants into people's homes right now. And it's really wild. And the way to do that is to remove 421A, which means that we here in New York City will have the biggest default on commercial real estate the world has ever seen. I think if I actually did the math myself, I think it's somewhere near $90 billion. Let's call it $100 billion, make it even. $100 billion in lost revenues on commercial real estate. It is immense. It's so much so that some of my clients at SL Green, I actually talked to them. I said, why don't we put a casino in Times Square so we get people to come here, because people are leaving here, the city, and our city will be flyover country. And we have the New York Stock Exchange. You know, I mean, like I said, we have the New York Stock Exchange. Like, I got a seat. We need business. Business needs people. The economy is different than the market. And I don't want to see people living in poverty. And that's exactly what I've been talking about every single day, all the time, every time. And it's super important. It's really weighing on my heart.
Hey, okay, Dabby, let me ask you a question real quick on that.
Absolutely.
So obviously you mentioned that there's a huge problem with poverty in New York, right? With homelessness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are your thoughts? How does that make sense that Eric Adams and all, you know, whoever else is involved is putting illegal immigrants in these hotels and taking care of them, but you know, Americans that are homeless there are not being taken care of? And who's paying for all this, by the way?
Yeah, you know, see, it's so crazy because the plan was for these guys, and this is what a horrible, obviously disgusting progressive plan. I mean, I'm not against Democrats, I'm against progressives, and that's what it is. The communist, Marxist, socialists, you know, they call themselves progressives. That's like the pseudo name for it. I'm against them because they don't really understand what poverty is. I mean, I grew up out of really squalor, you know, and I became a multimillionaire. I became really, really wealthy, and now I'm being destroyed in so many ways. It's unreal. Like, bank accounts stopped, frozen. I'm getting censored on every single line, you know, knocked off of Google, knocked off of LinkedIn, knocked off of, you know, you can just type in my name, Daby Carreras, Carreras, and you can see all the different things that I'm no longer on, but my presence is somewhat there. The thing is, people don't realize what the definition of homelessness is. And there's really two different definitions of homelessness. There's people who actually live on the street, right? And there's people who live in shelter. And shelter are people who are homeless. And the way that you find out is, they go on a cold day and they actually physically go around and count and take a survey of that. So instead of actually, getting people into affordable housing or getting into housing or getting a job, which is a pure end of poverty and homelessness, they're just taking the hotels and turning them into shelters and putting community jails, because obviously they want to close down Rikers Island in New York City, and they put building new jails in the city. So 5 community-based jails and about 95 new shelters where you have single males and you have other different people who are not family orientated who are just living there. And that's just a breadbasket for crime and chaos. And the mayor realizes this, and the only way to fix that is to give another problem by removing 421A. And 421A is another law which really gives people the ability to buy, to be a small business owner, to own a building. The businesses in New York City, people who have businesses, normally they either start a food sales business, a restaurant, a small little food shop or a shopping cart kind of thing, or sell fruit on the side of the road. There's some kind of restaurant. That's a small business that's growing, that could grow into, who knows, it can grow into, a famous steakhouse or something. But the other way that people are doing business is through real estate, and they're destroying the real estate, just like I said, at the high end, the commercial property, but at the low end for, let's say a 4-story walk up. And myself, I know it implicitly, and it's really sad, because when you have crime and you have a situation where the actual mayor, who they entrusted to hire because he was a former police officer to end crime, perpetuates crime, where is it to go? You're just going to leave, especially in this world and day and age where you could be in remote. You're just going to say, you know what, I'm going to go and work in the Bahamas and work remotely. It's just a breadbasket and layer of just crime and corruption, and it just perpetuates. And I'm against it. I'm a man of faith, and I won this election, and I have to prove it at the courts, because it doesn't matter how many votes you get. It really matters who counts the votes. And I learned that the hard way. And you know what? They're going to learn it the hard way too, because I did my work. I walked around for a full year with 20 volunteers, knocking on doors, letting everyone know who I am. And they all said, I voted for you. I mean, I would love for everyone that you're sharing this video to go look me up and watch the debate. There's a great debate on New York One. There's a great debate on MNN. New York One happens to be a national broadcast, so people are watching it in Europe. And they realize right now that I won the election, but yet we're still sitting in a situation where we're bringing poverty to people. And it's just disgusting to me, because I grew up out of that, and I don't want that for anyone.
Well, okay, I've got some questions for you on this as well, and kind of to give everybody idea of what you're talking about as well. With the crime that's happening in New York and California, a lot of it goes back to what was referred to as the zero bail policy, or no bail. Has increased crime rapidly. But prior to this, so many people bought into this defund the police movement. And so, for example, in San Francisco, there's these city officials that now are begging for police to come back because crime has gotten so out of control. I don't recall her name, but they went back, and on her Twitter, she was pushing the defund the police movement. And so now you have Democrats and liberals that push these policies, like you're talking about in New York as well, that have put people in grave danger. So could you give us more explanation? Do you know much about that, and the things that, as far as crime getting out of control in New York?
Absolutely. And I'm going to say, I'm not against liberals. I mean, I'm not going to date a liberal. I mean, I'm a single guy, but I'm not going to date a liberal. But I mean, I'm not against Democrats either. It's really progressives. Exactly. But you're exactly right. They're kind of pushing and pulling, people who would be center left, but not far left or lunatic fringe left into that pool. You know, I really don't know why they're doing this. I mean, to point to your question, I mean, I think it's about money.
Yeah.
And myself being an investment banker, I have millions of dollars in the management. I have all these clients, like I said, I've royalty clients. I've all these people. I think that the reason why they're doing that is because of money. And the name escapes me of the person you're speaking about who actually voting towards these things. But I mean, the reason why they're doing this is because they much rather be a dictator of sorts, control instead of actually governing. A person who is actually elected, you're a representative. And when I became an investment banker, the first test you take is a Series 7, a securities general exam exam. And you're a registered representative. You're representing the people. So you're a proxy for the people. These people think that they are the leaders, as in they can pick whatever it is in their way. They create all these different kind of laws and all these different kind of things because most of these people who get elected, they're attorneys. And they are, like you said, they're on the left-hand side, Democrat, liberal, progressive, Marxist, socialist, communist. Myself, as really an independent Republican, turned conservative because of all this nonsense. Myself as a banker, I'm going to counteract all of these legislations that they do because I don't write laws. As a banker, you just fund something or not fund something. There's no such thing as defunding, and that's what you're talking about, defunding the police. That means the police had money and you took it away from them. No, you're funding something or not funding something. So my goal will be to get our city back in business by funding proper things that should be funded or not funding things that are detrimental to society, like I don't know, like drag queen school for children and grooming for children, which is, I don't know. I would just say that this is a crime, but apparently it's no longer a crime because they don't think that these things are crimes with our attorney general, with these people who are there, like Alvin Bragg, who say the crime went down because they make things that are criminal behaviors no longer be crimes. It's absolutely ludicrous, and it's killing my city, and it's bringing people to poverty, and it's forcing people, like I said, killing the city, out of the city forever. I'm actually with a friend of mine who is planning to move to Texas. You know why? Because Texas is where there's actually laws and people who have some little bit of morals, I would say. I'm not going to give people my morals. It's not right for me to force people's morals. But you can't make something a non-crime, especially when it has to do with children. And that is our future. And, as a man of faith, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, the reason why Satan went after Moses and Christ Jesus is because, as a child, to kill the children, is because that's where you win. You win by taking over the children. You win by taking over the education. You win by taking over the hearts and minds of young people. And that is sadly what has been going on. So I know it's a long answer to the defund question, but it really serves a purpose, and I really want people to understand this. I can elaborate anything you like on that.
No, thank you, Dabby, very much. And I kind of want to also stress something I can't wrap my head around. Like, no matter what your chosen political affiliation is, Democrat, Republican, whatever side you're on, I can't wrap my head around like the fact that all these policies that have been implemented by the left have destroyed cities, have put people in danger, like you said, also targeting children. I don't understand how Americans can keep voting this way, but from my perspective, I'm also conservative, right?
They don't vote this way. We are stealing.
Yes.
Look, when people realize that my election was won by over 700,000 votes, I mean, I proved 346,000 affidavits. but there was over 200,000 people who I found who are dead. So that's like almost 500,000. There was other 200,000 I didn't catch you, but they're going to find them as well because electronic book entry form and QFS blockchain encryption code, they're going to learn it. But if you even think about the election in 2020, we're going to find there were 17 million dead people who voted. And I say dead people, they're just fake. They're not real people. And every single person who voted in that election right there, or that showed the election, was a fraud, as well as every single time it was voted, it's actually 3 counts of fraud. So there's over 1 million votes of fraud just in New York City alone. New York City, the largest city in our country. There's over 1 million fraudulent votes, which counted for 3 million fraudulent fraud activities. Penalties are jail and thousands of dollars in fines, but yet our city is dying and people are kind of not understanding it. Meanwhile, you know, they force these mandates and these prophylactic gene therapies, which are causing people to have sudden death and all these different things. It's not how I grew up, and it's not how I'm going to allow my city to be. And I know in the very near future, people are going to read about me in the textbooks. You know, the kids are going to read about in textbooks as I actually saved New York City from the brink of destruction. And it's just shocking that it's taking me to do it. You know, me. I'm just a guy who worked his entire life from the bottom, and I made it to the top by reading every single day and working hard. But I'm really blessed that my genealogy is such that I won out and proved these progressives wrong. And they're terrified about me. And that's the reason why they've been shadow banning me and blocking me and censoring me and quite literally stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars out of my bank account. And wow. it's not even a bail out. It's actually a bail in, because that's what I think is going to happen. You know, this is my perspective. That's what I think is going to happen for all these individuals in America and their bank accounts. I really think they're going to do the exact same thing that's been happening to me for 2.5 years. It's going to happen to just about every single person in America, from CRT to ESG.
I have a question for you, Debbie. Okay, so real quick, the 200,000 votes that you said were from dead people, right?
Yeah.
Can people go online and verify that, first of all?
Or they can verify the 346,000, but the 200,000 they can verify only if they have the people's families' information. But everything is going to be verified by something called QFS blockchain encryption code. And this is the reason why President Trump knows there's 17 million dead people who voted for him, because QFS blockchain encryption code is perfect. You know, that ledger, you can actually see every single person. We know where every single vote happened and when it happened and where it happened. It's like a fingerprint. You can't deny it. You can't hide it. The problem is there's people who are denying it from going to court and let it being seen on the record. But on August 3rd, President Trump actually did a court case and lawsuit. You know, he mentioned CNN as the top one there, and that's the first time CNN has made less than $1 billion since 2016. But that court case and that information, the military actually answered a lot of these questions in there. The military was actually quoted in it. And it proved, the military knew that 17 million people didn't actually vote, but the votes were counted and registered. And it's ludicrous, because that is the biggest, this is more than identity theft. You know, this is criminal behavior and felonies to the likes that I've never seen before, because it stole a whole country. And effectively, since we are the most powerful country on the planet, it stole the whole world. And it's really sad, because not only my city, which I care deeply about, but it's every other city in our country and every other country in our planet that is affected by this. I mean, just this past week, I'm not sure if you know, or maybe your viewers know, there's hundreds of thousands of people in Poland who are rallying against autocracy that's happening right now. There's people in Nigeria who are furious. Hundreds of thousands of people who are furious about their money being confiscated. There are people in Brazil who are standing up every single day for the past 3 months. against their president, who is a criminal named Lulu, when the real president, Bolsonaro, won. It is amazing that we're living in this day and age with the crime and the media and the education. I think that the only answer to really to this at the federal level is to remove the Department of Education. It's only been around since 1979, so really only just about 40 years. Remove the Department of Energy and remove what I'm going to be able to do is the Commerce Department, because the Commerce Clause should never have been able to regulate every single business in America and every single business effectively around the world. These three branches, these three places of the cabinet should not be the way they are, because it's given so much power and it's brought so much corruption, because it's not held by real people who actually are there. Like I said, Mr. Joe Biden, I call him Mr. Joe Biden, the potato. He doesn't even know he's alive, because I'm not convinced that's the real Mr. Joe Biden, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay. Dabby, let me also ask you, okay, so there's a lot there. So I have a lot of questions for you. Do you still have time?
I have time.
Okay, cool. Let me kind of go back real quick. Ask you this first question. Okay, so in regards to both the 200,000 votes of dead voters, in regards to your position, right? And then also the 17 million dead voters you said across the US, right?
Precisely. Yeah.
Do you have any idea of or where it can be verified, or if it can be verified, the percentage of which direction the votes went?
Yeah, because there's something, we live in a day in blockchain, I mean, Bitcoin might be cool, but it's not, it's an unregistered security. So a lot of people who have Bitcoin might be sadly worried, or they should be worried, because even though it's up like 60% for the year, it's like $2,600, $26,000. It is not, it is not backed by the Treasury, and that's the reason. So here, let me back up a second. So the reason why the United States, is the most powerful country in the world is because we have the most powerful military. The reason why we have the most powerful military is because our currency is based off the Treasury. So people buy our Treasury. So the 10-year Treasury is the most important financial number. Look, you see the picture in the background of your video. I'm in my office. I work in the hub of the information of the world. I get every single piece of information you could possibly imagine. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's not, but that's why I double check and triple check everything. I go through all of these things, because there's rumors and there's news. But people are going to learn about QFS blockchain encryption code, and they're going to learn about the truth. And they're going to see that, hey, there's no way that these things actually happened. But sadly, because we have all this media or opinion journalism, or I don't know, I guess I'll call it HR 5736, which is the law called Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, which you can actually program information. You can program people and program information, and propaganda is just one-side information. So it could be true or it could be false. No one really understands which one until you go decipher through the information. Because of 57 US HR 5736, Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, people are getting fake news. They're getting opinion journalism. President Trump calls it fake news, but it's opinion journalism as opposed to journalism. So they don't know if it's the truth. And then when you add that to Title 42, subsection 230, they're getting algorithms that are being boosted of speech, and they're suppressing speech. Like my speech, they suppress on the internet, on Google, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, banned. All these things that I'm being Clubhouse banned. All these things banned. My Instagram had over 100,000 followers. Now I'm at like 40,000 followers. Banned and deleted. People don't realize that we have to remove U.S. Code 47 subsection 230 and stop the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, because what that did is that took a foreign law and made it domestic. So we were legally allowed to lie to foreign people because, it's protection of the United States. There's spies everywhere. But now they made that domestic, and now people don't know what the truth is. And then with the internet age, the digital age, They boost speech and they suppress speech. So people don't know what the truth is, but people are going to easily see that we didn't vote for the black mayor and the black public advocate without having a black and Hispanic comptroller. I mean, there was two Hispanics on the ballot with me. There was a guy, a conservative guy, who was actually just running to try to stop me, which was hysterical. Myself, a Jewish guy who I got the endorsement of all the Jewish people, and another guy from Staten Island who was barred from the industry of finance for stealing money, but yet he ran as a libertarian. I won with the most votes in New York City's history, but yet they gave it to the guy who was endorsed by Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and AOC, which is shocking, but not too shocking, because that's what they do here in New York City in a place of corruption. So what are they going to do about the 200,000 people and how to find it? We have to go through, I would say, one of the most important people, the person who actually invented the QR code. If you go to your restaurant, you take a snap a picture of a QR code. His name is Jovan Hutton Pulitzer, and he invented that QR code. And going through, like I said, QFS blockchain encryption code, you can see every single vote, every single place. It's like your dollar bill or your $100 bill. It has like a electronic magnetic strip in there. You can see where it went. You can see if it would travel from one state to another state. That ballot is like a tender note. You can actually see all these things, so we can know where every single vote was and when precisely the second it was actually casted. And it just comes down to the people actually verifying their votes by going online in their states and saying, hey, this is my vote or this is not my vote. What did my vote get casted as? So it's going to be a bonanza, like I said, when people realize that I get the most votes in New York City's history. And I just want to prevent chaos. I don't want to have, these I don't know what you want to call them, like these flash mobs of people stealing from stores, like I'm seeing small places in like California, because that will happen in a big way in New York.
Yeah, and that's interesting too. I speak to people all the time, just like you, Dabby, and it's people don't seem to know what's going on as far as the flash mobs like you're talking about happening in California, robbing businesses blind. And with New York, also people have no clue. That's why I wanted to have you on here, because people really have no idea what's happening even in the US. Our news media is not reporting on these things and showing people.
Exactly. Look, they're not talking about how the war in Ukraine has been over. They're not talking about how Ukraine has not even been a country since 1991. They're not talking about how Putin, even though I'm not an apologist for Putin, how he actually cares about the faith-based people. They're not talking about the hundreds of thousands of people in Poland. They're not talking about the hundreds of millions of people in Brazil. They're not talking about the people in Nigeria. They're not talking about people in New Zealand. They're not talking about any of these things. You know what they're talking about? They're talking about Kanye West putting more clothes and pads under his clothes so he could look like a superhero. They're talking about, Taylor Swift's, show. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about the things that are important. They're not talking about the market, how it really is. They're talking about everything but. And it's almost like the Roman days, I thought it was pretty interesting when I saw, obviously I'm a capital markets guy, I'm an economist, I'm a financial advisor, I'm an investment banker. We just saw, just like the fall of the Roman Empire, where they had the Colosseum, bread and circuses. We just saw a $12 billion deal go through for UFC and the WWF or WWE. Why? So they can bring gambling, entertainment, and fighting, correct, gruesome fighting. Yep. Why? Because it's a way to distract people from the truth. That's the reason why they made all these drugs being prevalent, because they wanted to dumb down people and distract people from the truth, so they don't care, they don't know, and then destroy the family. It's all about respect for life, respect for the Constitution, more personal responsibility, and less government. And that's exactly opposite what we're receiving.
I absolutely agree. Well, let me ask you this. Why do you Why do you think so many Americans, again, I don't care what their political party is, it's shocking to me to see so many Americans that have either gone along with or silent about the censorship, the massive censorship taking place in our country.
I think it's either they're getting paid or they're just worried about not fitting in. I find it really sad for a lot of young people. I'm a young person. I
Mhm,
find it really sad for a lot of young people that they're not they're not learning how to think for themselves. They're just learning how to be monocultural, and just I want to fit in with everybody else because if I'm the outsider, if I'm the rebel, if I'm the the scapegoat of something, that I'm not going to be liked and no one's going to like me and I can't live on a life by myself. I have to live my life on Instagram, and it's not realistic. No one walks around with, oh, like myself. I had 100,000 followers. Now I have 40,000 followers. It's not realistic that I actually have 40,000 people watching every single thing I do, and that's how I live my life. That's not normal, but that's how people think. And if they don't get even 5,500, then they feel insignificant because they don't know how to cope because they have never been taught or they don't understand the family. They don't understand have faith. They don't have respect for life. They don't understand the laws. They don't understand the government. They don't understand a lot of things because they're only taught whatever the television or the programming or the broadcasting. Because again, this is very satanic in this. All
mhm.
these things that are pushing to them, broadcasting, programming, television, all these things, they're real. Hollywood, the holly is actually a plant that actually controlled your mind and made you really kind of hypnotic. They don't understand that. They never read that. They don't read books. We're not
Mhm.
taught to read. They don't even know how to write, script or language, or anything. They're just shown how to think. And you have to think, you have to fit in. If you don't fit in, then you're never going to go someplace. And then they take over the education, like I said earlier, and they give people whatever kind of degree they want to give them, and they have no real skills. And when they get into the real world, they have a feeling that everything is deserving for them. They deserve all these things, and they don't understand what life is really all about. And sadly, if they escape all that, they're given a prophylactic gene therapy, quote unquote vaccination, because there's no such thing as vaccination any longer because they changed the definition on that. I went through in detail. In fact, watch my debates. I talk about that. But
Mhm. Are
people are
your
dying
debates
suddenly.
are your debates on YouTube?
They're on YouTube. They're New York One. If you type in my name, you can find YouTube links on it. You can find just everywhere. I mean, I'll send you a whole bunch of ones, but I mean, it's
Okay.
everywhere. YouTube, it's on BitChute, it's on everywhere. But these things are really, really depressing to me. It's upsetting to me that we're losing a youth, and that's the only way that we can actually go further. It's sad that the faith, and again, I can't trust it enough. My I would say my philosophy comes down to four main pillars:
Mhm.
respect for life, respect for the Constitution, more personal responsibility, and just less government. And that's the kind of leader that I am. So when you look at all these different things, it really grains down to that. And I'm so sad for children because they're being taken from their innocence right now at a tender age. It's really quite disgusting.
Yes, it is. I agree. Well, let me ask you this last question to, hopefully put out a positive note. Let's see. In your circle of influence, I know you know a lot of people, right? What are you seeing from those people? What are you seeing from people in New York? Are people speaking up? Are there people, obviously I see a lot of people that are seeing the same things that are very unhappy with the situation and but what are you seeing from your circle of influence?
You know, my circle of influence comes from people like my clients, like Prince Lorenzo di Medici, whose family actually started and founded the entire checking system, like Andrea Catsimatidis, who is the one of the the largest private owning businesses in the state of New York, billionaire. You know, a lot of athletes, like, you know, so many, I can't even, you know, go into it, but they're seeing that I'm the guy who has to do it. You know, I'm the guy who has to make it happen. I mean, I speak Spanish. I am, you know, multicultural. I'm Black, Hispanic, and white. You know, I'm French, Polish, Spain, Cuban, Puerto Rican, Mali, Congo, Benin, Cameroon. You know, I have all these different bloods inside me, sangre inside me, and they realize that my opinions are not really opinions. They're actually stated fact that people just don't really understand. And they're really counting on me to pull through, you know, and that's the reason why I did these court cases. That's where I've fought so hard. It's the reason why people elected me, you know, and, you know, I'm the one who bridges that gap between the 99 and the 1%. And it's going to take, you know, it's going to take a Herculean effect, but we have to really change our behaviors, and people have to wake up, and they have to realize if they're going to be woke, they're going to go broke.
Very true. Very true. Well, hey, Dabby, I want to thank you, first of all, for taking the time out of your evening to come on and speak and, you know, tell everyone about what's happening in New York. I'm wishing you the best of luck on your court case. You're going to have to keep me updated with that as well.
100%, my man.
So thank you for everything. I greatly appreciate it. Keep your head up. Have faith, bro. Thank you
Until
so
then,
much.
you can see me sitting in my office. I'm actually, the picture you see is myself in the office. I'm, you know, right there, my Wall Street office. I run a firm. I have about 255 people who work for me, and you know, I'm just a young, opinionated business professional, just looking to fix New York City, because I don't want to see New York City be flyover country. I want the world to keep on spinning, and the only way to do that is to put things right. And it comes down to respect for life. And, you know, when you have respect for life, I think that people are going to start thinking otherwise.
I completely agree, my friend. Well, I'll tell you real quick. You know, I was having this conversation with someone earlier. I said, you know, I always wanted to go to New York. I had planned on going to New York, and now seeing everything that's taking place there, I
Tell them
have,
I'll bring you to New York Stock Exchange. Are you kidding me? You're going to love it.
yeah, but at this moment, I have zero desire. Just seeing everything that's happening, and it was such an incredible city. Like you said,
I
people
will
from,
change your mind. Don't worry. I'm going to bring everybody back to New York City.
that sounds amazing, brother. Let's, all
God
right.
bless, brother. I
God
really
bless,
appreciate
Debbie.
it. Thank you. The glory to God. I really do appreciate this. And if anyone's looking to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram, vote, VOTEDABY, vote Dabby. You can get with yourself, and you can connect with me on the Instagram, vote Dabby. You know, I think Instagram would be the easiest way to connect, because a lot of people use Instagram. But I can't wait to see you here, and I hope to get you to move to New York, just like I'm gonna get my friends to if they're gonna go to Texas for a short time, they're just gonna vacation for Texas, and they'll be back over here after my last court date and completed come December. So yes.
I love it, brother. Get after it. God bless. Have a great night.
Likewise, sir. Have fun. Good night.
All
Blessings.
right. Take care, Debbie.